Hey, welcome guys. Tonight we're stepping into combat boots that don't fit, shouldering a rifle that jams when you need it most, and discovering why the good war was anything but good for the 16 million Americans who fought it. We're diving into what life was really like as an American soldier in World War II. Forget Band of Brothers and Saving Private Ryan. The truth: you probably wouldn't last a week. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You've heard the stories, the greatest generation heroes who stormed beaches, liberated Europe, and saved the world from fascism. All true, but here's what they don't tell you. Those heroes were terrified 18-year-olds who cried for their mothers, soiled themselves in foxholes, and came home broken in ways that wouldn't be diagnosed for decades. They were kids who went from milking cows to manning machine guns, from high school dances to death marches, from mum's apple pie to eating cold beans while their best friend bled out beside them. Tonight we're going to follow you, a regular American kid from 1942, as you transform from a soda fountain, regular, into a government-issued killing machine. Spoiler alert: the transformation hurts, the food is terrible, and the mortality rate is somewhat worse than your current job. So get comfortable in your climate-controlled room on your memory foam mattress with your anxiety medication within reach, because where we're going, none of those exist. Where we're going, comfort is a forgotten dream, safety is a myth, and survival is a daily lottery. You didn't ask to enter ready. Of course, you're not. Neither were they. Congratulations. It's 1942 and you just got the letter. Every American male between 18 and 45 has been dreading greetings, "It begins," which is already a lie. Because there's nothing greeting-like about being ordered to report for military service. Uncle Sam wants you, whether you want him or not. And trust me, after what's coming, you won't. Maybe you tried to enlist after Pearl Harbor, caught up in the patriotic fever. Maybe you waited to be drafted, hoping the war would end first. Either way, you're here now, standing in line at the induction center with hundreds of other bewildered boys, all pretending they're not terrified. The doctor asks you to strip naked checks if you have flat feet, bad eyes, or any convenient disability. You don't. Congratulations, you're one. A perfect cannon fodder. You get one last night at home. Mum makes your favorite dinner, but you can't taste it. Your kid's sister won't stop crying. Dad shakes your hand and tells you to give him hell, but his eyes are wet. Your sweetheart promises to wait, and you both pretend to believe it. You lie in your childhood bed, staring at model airplanes hanging from the ceiling, wondering if you'll ever see them again. Spoiler: probably not. Next morning, you're on a train to boot camp. Could be Fort Benning, Georgia, could be Camp Roberts, California. Doesn't matter. They're all designed to break you down and rebuild you into something useful, something that follows orders, something that kills without thinking too hard about it. The moment you step off that train, the transformation begins. A sergeant, who seems personally offended by your existence, starts screaming, not talking, not yelling, screaming. His face is too in from yours. Spittle, flying veins, bulging. You've never been yelled at like this. You want to cry. You want to run. You want your mum to bad. Mum single quotes 1,000 miles away, and you You're not even you anymore. You're in the army now, maggot. First, stop the barber, and by barber, I mean a sadist with clippers who removes your carefully groomed hair in 30 seconds flat. That pompadour you spent months perfecting, gone, your individuality shaved off with your sideburns. You're a CQ ball, now indistinguishable from every other cub, stumbling around in shock. Next, uniforms. Nothing fits. The army has 2 sizes, too big and too small. You get both pants that could house a family of 4, shirts that strangle you, boots that guarantee blisters, and everything is olive drab, the color of depression, mixed with dead grass. You stuff your civilian clothes in a bag to mail home. That's the last time you'll touch anything soft for the next 3 years. Physical training starts immediately, not exercise torture. You run until you puke, then run some more push-ups until your arms give out, then 50 more. Obstacle courses designed by someone who clearly hates human anatomy. You crawl through mud under barbed wire while sergeants scream that you're worthless, that the enemy will eat you alive, that your girlfriend's already cheating on you, and they're probably right about that last one. You collapse into your bunk at night, a metal frame with a mattress that makes concrete look comfortable, but you can't sleep yet. First, you learn to make your bed with military corners, so tight you could bounce a quarter off. Get it wrong. The sergeant flips your entire bunk and you start over, while everyone watches, while everyone waits, while everyone starts to hate you. The guy in the next bunk is crying quietly, but you can hear it. You want to comfort him, but you're too exhausted. Besides, you might start crying too, and once you start, you might never stop, so you lie there, muscles screaming, homesick as hell, wondering what happened to your life. Welcome to the army, soldier. This is the easy part. Crash, bang, clatter. It's 4:30 a.m. and a garbage can just went flying down the barracks. That's your alarm clock. Now, no gentle sunrise, no radio playing the latest Bing Crosby, just a psychotic sergeant with metal trash can lids, banging them together like he's auditioning for the world's worst orchestra. Drop your underscore and grab your socks. You have exactly 3 minutes to get dressed. 3 minutes. Your eyes are still crusted shut, your body still broken from yesterday's training, and somewhere in the darkness, 60 other recruits are trying to find their pants. Someone trips, someone else curses. The sergeant hears it. Who said that? Everybody down, push-ups now. And just like that, your day begins with your face in the floor, counting out push-ups in unison, while your arms shake like jello. The guy next to you collapses at 15. Mistake. Now you're all starting over. Group punishment is the army way. One screws up, everyone pays. It builds unit cohesion, they say. Really, it builds resentment and a deep hatred for mornings that will last the rest of your shortened life. Finally, you're allowed to stand time to make your bunk hospital corners so precise a nurse would weep. The blanket must be tight enough to bounce a quarter, not a nickel, not a dime, a quarter. The sergeant actually tests it. Your blanket fails. You remake it. While everyone waits, again, the collective hatred grows. Now for the latrine. Picture your worst gas station bathroom. Now remove the stall doors. Add 60 guys with explosive diarrhea from mess hall food. That's your morning bathroom experience. Privacy that died with your hair. You're sitting knee to knee with strangers, trying to do your business while a sergeant times you. Yes, times you. Bowel movements are on a schedule. Now, hurry up in there, the Nazis ain't waiting for you to. Wipe. Shaving comes next. 1 mirror for every 10 men. Rusty razors that haven't been sharp since the last war. Shared shaving cream that might be soaped, might be industrial lubricant. You nick yourself blood mixers with cheap aftershave. It burns like hellfire, but at least you're awake now. The water is cold, always cold, even in Georgia in July. Somehow the water is Arctic. You splash your face, brush your teeth with powder that tastes like chalk mixed with mint-flavored disappointment. Your toothbrush is identical to everyone else's. You hope you grabbed the right one. You probably didn't. 100 hours formation. You stand outside in whatever weather God threw at Georgia that morning. Rain, you stand in it. Snow, you stand in it. Biblical plague of locusts, you stand in it at attention. While the sergeant inspects your uniform, he finds a thread, one single thread. Your entire squad does push-ups in the mud, while he lectures about attention to detail. Finally, march to breakfast, not walk. March in step in information like robots, programmed by someone who hates knees. Left, 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 right, left. The guy behind you steps on your heel. You can smell it from 50 yards away, that peculiar aroma of industrial cooking mixed with despair. Your stomach growls, then immediately regrets it, because what's waiting isn't food, it's army food, and there's a special circle in hell reserved for whoever invented it. But that's the next chapter of your morning. Right now, you're still marching, still hoping, still naive enough to think breakfast might be edible. Poor, stupid recruit. You'll learn after choking down what the army generously calls breakfast. It's time to meet your new best friend. No, not the guy bunking next to you. He'll be dead by Normandy. I'm talking about your rifle, your M1 Grand 9.5 pounds of wood and steel, that will determine whether you make it home or become another telegram. The sergeant holds one up like it's the Holy Grail. This is your rifle. This is your gun. He grabs his crotch. This is for fighting. This is for fun, charming. You'll be doing push-ups if you ever call it a gun again. It's a rifle, always a rifle. You'll sleep with it, eat with it, and clean it more thoroughly than you've ever cleaned yourself. They hand you one that's seen better days. The wood is scarred, the metal worn. How many dead kids carried this before you? Best not to think about it. You learn to disassemble it blindfolded, because apparently the Germans only attack in perfect darkness. You learn the ping of an empty unblocked clip ejecting a sound that tells every enemy within earshot that you're reloading. Fantastic design feature. The M1 is actually one of the better pieces of equipment you'll get, which should terrify you. It only jams when it's too hot, too cold, too wet. It is too dry, or when you need it most. The ammunition clips come preloaded, and if you try to top off a half-empty clip, enjoy your new thumb injury. They call it M1 thumb. Single quotes LL call it other things. Next up, your helmet. It's steel. It's heavy and it's surprisingly multifunctional. Sure, it might stop shrapnel, but it's also your wash basin, your cooking pot, your shovel, and, in desperate times, your toilet. That's right, the thing protecting your brain is also where you'll defecate when you're pinned down by machine gun fire. War is glamorous like that. The helmet comes in two parts, the steel shell and the liner. The liner is made of compressed cardboard and resiniers. Cardboard, between your skull and artillery shrapnel, is essentially a hard hat made of yesterday's newspaper. Feel safe. You shouldn't now for your uniform. Everything is wool. Everything. Shirts, pants, underwear wool. In Georgia, in summer, you'll sweat through it in minutes. And it'll never fully dry. It'll chafe in places you didn't know could chafe. In winter, it will be the only thing between you and hypothermia, and it still won't be enough when it gets wet, and it will always be wet. It weighs twice as much and smells like a sheep dyed in a gym sock. Your boots deserve their own circle of hell. They're leather, theoretically, but the army bought them from the lowest bidder, so they're more like cardboard, wrapped in the suggestion of leather. They don't fit. Furthermore, they never fit. Too tight in the toes, too loose in the heel. The laces break if you look at them wrong. Within a week, you'll have blisters on your blisters. Within a month, the sole will start separating. In combat, water will pour in through gaps you can't see, and your feet will rot, literally rot. Trenchant isn't just a World War I thing, but wait, there's more. Your pack, your glorious spine-crushing pack, empty. It weighs 15, filled with everything the army insists you need. It's 60, 80 pounds of pure misery, ammunition, rations, extra socks that won't help, entrenching tool, a small shovel for digging your own grave, first aid kit, sulfur, powder, and hope gas mask that fogs instantly, shelter, half a tent, because you need a buddy to not die of exposure, blanket, mess kit, and 20 other things that will bruise your kidneys. With every step, the straps cut into your shoulders. The weight destroys your back. After a 20-mile march, you'll have raw, bleeding grooves where the pack ate through your uniform and into your flesh. The medic might have some tape. Probably not. Speaking of the gas mask, let's talk about that masterpiece. It's rubber that's been vulcanized to the consistency of a tire. It smells like a chemical factory had a baby with a burning garbage dump. When you put it on, the eyepieces fog immediately. Always. The filters make breathing feel like sucking air through wet concrete. In training, they'll gas you with tear gas to make sure it works. Half the time it doesn't. You'll spend 20 minutes crying, spotting, and vomiting while the sergeant laughs. Masked confidence. He'll scream. Confidence. You're confident about one thing. If the Germans actually use gas, you're dead. Your canteen holds a quart of water, 1 quart for a full day of marching in full gear. The water tastes like metal and chlorine because of the purification tablets. Those tablets are supposed to kill bacteria. They also kill any desire to drink water, which is problematic when it's 95 and you're carrying your body weight in gear. And everything is marked us. Your rifle, your helmet, your underwear, because apparently, in the chaos of war, you might forget which army you're in, or maybe it's to help identify your corpse. The army thinks of everything. This is your equipment. Your life depends on it, which is unfortunate because most of it seems designed by someone who actively wants you dead. But don't worry. Soon you'll be too exhausted to care. Time for physical training. With all this gear on in the Georgia heat. This is going to hurt. Remember when you thought Mum's meatloaf was bad? When you pushed vegetables around your plate and complained about having liver and onions again? You sweet, naive fool. You had no idea how good you had it. Now it's time to meet army cuisine, where flavor goes to die and nutrition is a vague suggestion. Welcome to the mesh hall, a cavernous room that smells like a hospital, crossed with a rendering plant. The floors are concrete, the tables are metal, and everything echoes with the sound of 200 men. Discovering what despair tastes like. You shuffle through the line with your metal tray, each compartment about to receive its daily dose of culinary punishment. The servers, Fellow soldiers who drew the short straw slot portions onto your tray with all the enthusiasm of gravedigers. They know what they're serving. They've eaten it to dot. First up, powdered eggs. The army takes real eggs, removes everything that makes them eggs, turns them into dust, then adds water and yellow dye. The result looks like scrambled eggs. If you squint and have recently suffered head trauma, they taste like rubber bands, marinated in sadness. The texture, imagine chewing a sponge that's been used to clean a chicken coop. They're also green. Sometimes no one knows why. Next, the meat. Is it beef, pork, some unholy fusion of animals that didn't run fast enough? The official term is underscore on a shingle, creamed chipped beef on toaster. Unofficial term isn't printable, it's grey, it's lumpy, and it moves on your plate in ways meat shouldn't move. The toast underneath has the consistency of roofing tiles and tastes about the same. Coffee, sure. If you define coffee as hot brown water, that might have once been in the same room as a coffee bean. It's so weak you can see through it, yet somehow still bitter enough to strip paint. Sugar is rationed. Milk is powdered and tastes like chalk. You drink it anyway because it's hot, and warmth is the only pleasure left in your life. But breakfast is a feast compared to field rations. Let me introduce you to the sea ration, your new lunch and dinner for the foreseeable future. Each can is a mystery. Wrapped in olive drab, the labels are helpful. Meat and beans, meat and vegetable, hash, meat and spaghetti. Notice a pattern. Everything has meat, in quotes, because even the army isn't sure what's in there. You open a can dated 1938. That's not a typo. Your lunch is older than some of the recruits. Inside is a grey-brown mass that might be beef, might be pork. Definitely isn't fresh. It's swimming in congealed grease that's turned white and waxy. You heat it over a stereo flame. If you're lucky, eat it cold. If you're not, either way it tastes like defeat, seasoned with preservatives. The crackers that come with it aren't crackers. They're hard. Tax, evil cousin, harder than your helmet, drier than the Sahara. Men have broken teeth on these things. You learn to soak them in water first, creating a paste that tastes like wallpaper, but at least won't require dental surgery. Rations are the improved version. Breakfast comes with a fruit bar that has the density of a brick and tastes like someone described fruit to someone who'd never seen fruit. Lunch includes cheese, a processed yellow substance that sweats oil in heat and cracks like plastic in cold. Dinner features more mystery meat and a chocolate bar. So the army specifically requested chocolate that tasted bad, so soldiers wouldn't eat it unless necessary. It's bitter, chalky, and has the texture of compressed sawdust. It could survive a nuclear blast. Your teeth might not survive eating it. Don't forget the cigarettes. Every ration comes with cigarettes, because nothing says nutrition like Lucky Strikes. For lunch, non-smokers start smoking just to mask the taste of dinner. Water. You've got purification tablets that make everything taste like a swimming pool hole zone. Tablets kill bacteria, parasites, and any joy you might derive from hydration. Your canteen water is always warm, always chemical tasting, always reminds you that you're one sip away from depretry in the field. You might supplement with foraged food, that French farmer's chicken that mysteriously disappeared, the one you're roasting over a small fire. You didn't see anything, neither did your sergeant who's holding a drumstick. Vitamin deficiencies are common. Scurvy makes a comeback. Men get night blindness from a lack of vitamin A. But hey, at least you're losing weight. The army diet is simple. March 20th miles a day while eating food that your dog would refuse. You'll drop 30 pounds in basic training alone. Your mother won't recognize you. Neither will your mirror. The mess sergeant claims it's all nutritionally balanced. Balanced between what and what? Misery and despair. The only thing balanced is how. Equally, everyone hates it. But here's the thing. When you're starving, when you haven't eaten in 2 days because supply lines got hit, when you're down to eating grass and tree bark, like your enemies on the other side, that can of 1938 mystery meat starts looking pretty good. You'll dream about it. You'll fight over it. You'll lick the can clean and thank God for it. For now, though you're still in training, still soft, still remembering what real food tastes like. You force down your powdered eggs, your underscore on a shingle, your prehistoric canned goods, your stomach protests, your taste buds surrender. Your bowels begin their own war that will last the duration of your service. And tomorrow, same menu, same message, same culinary nightmare. Bon appetit, soldier. Hope you weren't too attached to your digestive system. Congratulations, soldier. You've survived basic training. You can march, shoot and digest industrial-grade mystery meat. The army deems you ready for wartime to cross an ocean. And the journey there is going to make boot camp look like a pleasure cruise. You board a train to the coast, packed into cars like cattle, actually. Cattle get more space and better ventilation. You're heading to New York or San Francisco, depending on which theater of war gets the pleasure of your presence. The train ride takes days. You sleep sitting up your rifle between your knees, some guy's elbow in your ribs, everyone marinating in their own sweat and cigarette smoke. At the port you see your home for the next few weeks. A Liberty ship or a converted passenger liner, now painted grey and stripped of anything resembling comfort. The Queen Mary used to carry Hollywood stars. Now she carries 15,000 C6 soldiers. That's not a typo. 15,000 men on a ship built for 2,000 passengers. You, board via narrow gangplanks, carrying everything you own. Officers get cabins. You get the hold. Remember the Titanic steerage? That was luxury compared to this. You're assigned a bunk in a stack of 4, sometimes 6. The space between bunks, about 18 in. Just enough to turn over if you exhale first. The bunks are canvas stretched over metal frames. No mattress, no pillow, just you, your scratchy blanket, and several thousand of your closest friends. The hold smells like diesel fumes, body odor and vomit, especially vomit, because the moment that ship leaves port, everyone gets seasick. The Atlantic in winter is not gentle. Waves the size of buildings toss your floating sardine can around like a toy. You've never been seasick before. You are. Now, everyone is the bathrooms, excuse me. Heads are overflowing within hours. Men are puking in their helmets, in corners, in their bunks, when they can't make it to the rail. You try to get topside for air, but space is limited. When you do make it, you're greeted by wind that cuts through your uniform like it's tissue, paper and spray that soaks you in seconds. The deck is slippery with seawater and vomit. Men are hanging over the rail feeding the fish with breakfast, lunch, and what might have been last Tuesday's dinner. Back below it's 90, and humid as a swamp. The ventilation system is a joke told by someone who hates humans. You're sweating through your uniform, but you can't take it off because where would you put it? Your entire living space is smaller than your mum's closet. Sleep is impossible. That ship rolls and pitches. The engines throb constantly. Your bunkmate above you is seasick. You know this because some of it just dripped through the canvas onto your face. You'd scream, but your own stomach is doing backflips. Meals are served in shifts because the message holds maybe 500 men. You stand in line for hours, shuffling forward as the ship lurches. When you finally get your tray, it's the same grey meat and powdered eggs, now seasoned with diesel fumes and served on a plate that slides away every time the ship rolls. Fresh water is rationed. Salt water showers leave you feeling dirtier than before. The soap doesn't lather in salt water, so you're basically rubbing yourself with a bar of wax while getting pelted with cold ocean. You are hunting you. This is not paranoia. This is fact. German submarines are out there waiting. You sail in convoys, zigzagging to avoid torpedoes at night. Total blackout. No lights, no cigarettes on deck, nothing that might give away your position. You lie in your bunk listening to the engines, wondering if that sound was a torpedo, wondering if you'll have time to get topside before the ship goes down. Lifeboat drills are daily. You struggle into your life jacket, a cork-filled vest that might keep your corpse floating. You learn your abandoned ship station. Furthermore, you try not to think about 15,000 men trying to fit into lifeboats designed for 2,000. Furthermore, you really try not to think about the water temperature in the North Atlantic. Survival time. If you go in about 15 minutes for entertainment, you have nothing. Maybe a dog-eared paperback that's been read by 500 guys before you. Maybe a deck of cards missing the 7 of hearts. Mostly, you have time to think, time to worry, time to realize you're heading to war, and this might be the last ocean you ever cross. Fights break out daily, put 15,000 board, seasick, terrified men in a confined space, and see what happens. Someone bumps someone in the chow line, someone snores too loud, someone exists in the wrong place at the wrong time. The MPs break it up, but tension is thicker than the cigarette smoke. If you're headed to the Pacific, add another week or 2 to your journey. Stop in Hawaii if you're lucky, straight to some godforsaken island if you're not. The heat gets worse. The further south you go, the hold becomes a sauna. Men pass out from heat exhaustion. The smell, God, the smell. It's like being trapped inside a gym sock worn by King Kong. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes a month at sea time loses meaning. You forget what solid ground feels like. You forget what clean air smells like. Furthermore, you forget what it's like to not be Prius. Finally land England maybe, or North Africa, or some Pacific island you can't pronounce. You stumble down the gang, plank on legs that don't remember how to walk on surfaces that don't move. You're 20 lighter, pale as a ghost, and smell like a portable latrine. Welcome to the war, soldier. The easy part's over. The ships were bad. Wait until you see where you're sleeping, tonight, and tomorrow night, and every night, until you die, or the war ends, whichever comes first. The morning starts like any other, except today. Someone's actively trying to kill you, not yelling at you, not making you do push-ups, actually trying to end your life. Welcome to combat, where all that training meets reality and reality wins. You've been in theater for a week, maybe 2, long enough to get dysentery from local. You dropped it when the world went insane. Incoming, incoming. No kidding. You figured that out when the tree next to you stopped existing. Splinters the size of your forearm whistle past. The guy who was there a second ago isn't there anymore. Parts of him are, but the barrage stops. Ears ringing, can't hear. Can't think. Someone's pulling you up, mouth moving, probably saying move or attack or medic. All you hear is EE. Now you're running. Why? Because everyone else is. Your legs work independently of your brain, following the herd. Rifle fire cracks around you. Those snaps and zips, bullets, actual bullets, trying to find your soft parts. You see your first enemy soldier. He's 50 yards away, aiming at you. Time slows. You raise your rifle. Your hands shake so bad, the sight picture looks like a paint mixer. You squeeze the trigger, miss. He doesn't. The guy next to you grunts and sits down hard, like someone told him an astounding joke. Then you see the red spreading across his chest. He looks confused. Mum, he says, then nothing. Your training kicks in, or maybe it's just panic dressed up as training. You're firing your rifle. The M1 goes bang, 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 ping. Empty dot. You fumble for another clip. Bullets crack off a rock by your head, spraying your face with stone fragments. Someone's screaming medic, memetic, over and over. Oh, it's you. You're screaming for a medic, for the guy who's past needing one. Your voice sounds wrong, high and cracked, like you're 13 again. Machine gun fire. Nothing prepares you for machine gun fire. It's not rat, that totter like the movies. It's a buzz or a meat grinder. A horizontal rain of death. Trees explode into splinters. The ground erupts in tiny geysers. The air itself seems to turn solid with lead. You're behind something, a wall, a dead cow, a fold in the ground, anything, everything. You make yourself small, smaller. If you could crawl inside your helmet, you would. If you could mail yourself home in an envelope, you'd pay the postage. Grenade. A metal pineapple lands near you, not near someone else. Near you. Your brain says, run. Your legs say no. Someone kicks it away. It explodes. Dirt and something wet hits your face. Don't think about what the wet is. Your sergeant is yelling orders. When did he get here? What's he saying doesn't matter. You follow, because not following means staying here, and here is where death lives. You're moving again, running, shooting, mostly missing your rifle jams. Of course it does. Furthermore, you're slapping the operating rod, screaming curses you didn't know. You knew. It clears. You fire at shapes, at movement, at shadows. That might be death, or might be your imagination. An explosion lifts you off your feet. You land hard, ears ringing, nose bleeding. Mortar, artillery. Who cares? You're alive. That's all that matters. Check your body, arms, still there, legs present. Everything hurts, but nothing's missing. The fight goes on forever. Also, it lasts 5 minutes. Time doesn't work right in combat. Your first firefight feels like hours, but the sun barely moved. Your mouth tastes like copper and dirt. Your pants are wet. When did that happen? Then, suddenly quiet, not peaceful quiet, dangerous quiet, the kind where breathing sounds like shouting. You stay low, weapon ready, waiting for the next horror. Ceasefire, ceasefire, it's over. For now you survived. Look at you, a combat veteran. You've been in your first fight, and you're still vertical. Mostly the count comes in, 3 dead, 7 wounded. The dead were alive an hour ago. Had breakfast with you, complained about the powdered eggs, just like you. Now they're being wrapped in ponchos, their dog tags collected, their personal effects bagged. You sit there shaking, not from fear. You tell yourself, adrenaline, sure. Your hands won't stop trembling. Your cigarettes shake, so bad you can barely light it. The veterans nod knowingly. They remember their first time. 2 gets easier. 1 says he's lying, and you both know it. It doesn't get easier. You just get number. Your soul grows. Parts of you shut down to keep the rest functioning. You dig a foxhole with your entrenching tool. Every shadow could be an enemy. Every sound could be death approaching. You haven't slept in 36 hours, but sleep is impossible. Your body vibrates with leftover adrenaline and fresh terror. Tomorrow you'll do it again, and the day after, and the day after that, until you're dead, wounded, or the war ends. Your first day of combat is over. You survived 364 more days until you can rotate home. If you make it, welcome to the war soldier, the one they didn't tell you about in boot camp, the one where boys become ghosts, and ghosts become memories, and memories become the things that wake you up, screaming for the next 50 years. But hey, at least you're not doing push-ups in the rain anymore, right? Right home, sweet home, soldier. That pile of dirt you're looking at, that's your new residence. No address, no zip code, just a hole in the ground that you'll defend with your life, because it's the only thing between you and becoming fertilizer. Your entrenching tool, that tiny shovel strapped to your pack, is about to become your most important possession, more important than your rifle, more important than your last letter from home. Because if you can't dig fast enough, deep enough, you're dead. It's that simple. The first rule of foxholes: dig deep or die. The second rule: it's never deep enough. You scrape and claw at the earth, like a meth-addicted gopher. The ground might be frozen, solid, might be solid rock, might be swamp mud that fills back in as fast as you dig. Doesn't matter. You dig. A proper foxhole is supposed to be armpit deep. That's the manual talking. In reality, you dig until someone starts shooting at you. Then, you try to become one with the earth. Your hole is as deep as terror can make it. In the time artillery gives you, woman, foxholes are standard. You and your foxhole buddy become closer than lovers. You'll know every sound he makes, every smell he produces, every prayer he whispers when he gets dysentery, and he will. You'll pretend the liquid sounds and sulphurous stench don't bother you. When you get it, and you will, he'll return the favor. Rain is your constant companion. It starts as a drizzle, then becomes a downpour, then becomes your life. Your foxhole fills with water, first an inch, then 6. Then you're waist deep in muddy soup. That's part rainwater, part groundwater, part human waste. But you can't bail it out, because bailing means standing up, and standing up means snipers get target practice, so you sit in it. Your feet go numb first. That's the good news. The bad news is they're not numb, they're dying. Trenchfoot starts as wrinkled white skin, progresses to pain that makes you want to saw your own legs off, ends with gangrene, an amputation if you lucky, death if you're not. The mud has personality, it sucks your boots off with every step. It cakes on your uniform until you're carrying an extra 20 pounds of earth. Furthermore, it gets in your rifle, your food, your eyes, your soul. You become a mud creature indistinguishable from the earth, except for the parts that hurt. Winter brings frozen mud, which sounds better, until you try to dig in it. Your entrenching tool bounces off like you're attacking concrete. Your hands blister, split, bleed. The blood freezes to the handle. You keep digging because the alternative is being above ground. When the next barrage comes, when the ground finally yields, you discover it's not frozen. All the way down to feet deep, it turns to soup. So now you're in a hole with ice walls and swamp floor. Your feet are simultaneously freezing and rotting. Medical science shouldn't allow this, but here you are. Sleep. You don't sleep in a foxhole. You exist in a state between consciousness and death. One man stays awake while the other rests. Resting means closing your eyes while remaining completely alert to every sound. That rustle could be wind, could be a German patrol, could be a rat the size of a house cat coming for your rations. Oh yes, the rats. They're everywhere. Fearless and fat from feeding on things you don't think about. They run across your face at night. Furthermore, they chew through your pack to get at food. Furthermore, they're so bold they'll fight you for your sea rations. And they're the size of small dogs, because the battlefield provides an all-you-can-eat. Buffet lice are your other constant companions. They live in the seams of your uniform, in your hair, in places you didn't know you had. They bite constantly. You're covered in red welts that you scratch until they bleed, which attracts infection, which attracts flies, which lay eggs, which, let's just say, you become an ecosystem. You haven't bathed in weeks, maybe months. Your smell could peel paint. If there was any paint left on anything, it's a combination of sweat, fear, cordite, mud, and decay. Everyone smells the same, so no one notices anymore. Civilization is a memory that fades more each day. Bodily functions don't stop because you're in combat. When nature calls, you have options. All bad. You can use your helmet, yes, the same one protecting your brain. You can crawl to the designated latrine area and risk getting shot while your pants are down, or you can just go where you are. Pride dies quickly in combat. The foxhole becomes your entire world. You customize it with small shelves carved into the walls for ammunition and personal items. A photo of your girl wrapped in waterproof cellophane, a lucky charm that's failed to bring any actual luck. Letters from home that you've read so many times. The words have worn off. During barges, the foxhole transforms. It becomes a grave. You're trying not to die in artillery. Turns the earth into a mosed car. Near misses. Collapsed walls bury men alive. You dig out, gasping, spitting mud, only to dig in again because the shelling hasn't stopped. Direct hits. Well, there's nothing left to bury your foxhole buddy. Is there 1 second gone? The next replaced by a smoking crater. You don't have time to mourn. You find another buddy. Dig another hole. Pretend this one will be luckier. Between attacks, you improve your position. Overhead cover, if you can manage it. Logs doors from destroyed houses. Anything to stop the rain and maybe, just maybe, an airburst. You know it won't stop a direct hit, but it makes you feel better. Psychology matters when you're slowly going insane. The lucky ones get to rotate back. Occasionally, a day, maybe 2, in a rest area. Rest area means a barn if you're fortunate, a tent if you're not. You get to eat hot food. That's almost identifiable, maybe. Wash your socks in a helmet full of cold water. Pretend you're still human. Then back to the line, back to your hole, back to the mud and fear and the intimate knowledge that you're one ranging shot away from becoming part of the landscape you're hiding. In some men crack. They get the 1000 why. Stare. Stop responding to their names. Start talking to people who got vaporized last week. They're not cowards. They're broken. Their minds went wall. Even if their bodies stayed in the hole. You're still here, still digging, still fighting. Your hands are claws. Your feet are rotting. Your mind is fraying at the edges. But you're alive in this muddy hole. In this tiny piece of hell you've carved out of the earth. You're alive. That's victory enough for today. Tomorrow, you'll dig another hole, if you're lucky. If you're alive. Mother Nature isn't neutral in this war. She's actively trying to kill you, and she's more consistent than the Germans. At least the enemy takes breaks. Weather is 24/7. Psychological and physical warfare, with no Geneva Convention to hold it back. Let's start with European winter, specifically the winter of 1944-45, the coldest in decades, because apparently God has a sense of humor, and it's dark. You're in Belgium. The Ardennes is forest. Ever heard of the Battle of the Bulge? That's where you are. And the bulge isn't the only thing that's going to be famous about this hellscape temperature. 20 Fahrenheit on a warm day. The kind of cold that makes your lungs hurt just breathing. Your issued winter gear is a joke. A coat that might work in New Jersey. Gloves that tear on the first barbed wire. Boots that are still the same leather disasters from basic training. The Germans have fur-lined everything. You have wool that freezes solid when wet. Guess which one is always wet? Your feet go first. The leather boots soak through in minutes. Your socks, if you still have socks, become ice blocks. Frostbite starts as numbness progresses to burning, pain, ends with toes turning black and falling off, not metaphorically, literally falling off. The medics collect them in buckets. Your hands are next. Ever try to operate a rifle with frozen clubs instead of fingers? The metal of your M1 is so cold it burns. Touch it with bare skin and leave flesh behind. Your trigger finger doesn't bend anymore. You shoot by mashing your whole hand against the trigger guard and hoping water freezes in your canteen. Food freezes in the can. Rations become solid blocks that could break teeth if your teeth weren't already chattering. Too hard to bite anything. You thaw food in your armpits, the only warm place left on your body. Nothing like armpit-flavored beans to remind you how far you've fallen. Snow blindness is real, and it's everywhere. The whole world turns white, and your eyes give up, even with makeshift goggles, usually just cloth with slits cut in it. The glare is murder. You stumble around like drunks, running into trees, falling into holes, shooting at shadows because everything looks like enemy movement when you can't see. But wait, you're saying, what about fires? Sure, build a fire. The smoke gives away your position and brings artillery faster than you can say frostbite. So you huddle together for warmth. 6 guys spooning like lovers, no one caring about dignity, because dignity doesn't prevent hypothermia. Now let's visit the Pacific, where the weather tries to kill you differently, but just as enthusiastically. Temperature 95, humidity 99%. The air is soup. Breathing feels like drowning in slow motion. Your uniform is permanently soaked with sweat that never evaporates because the air is already holding all the water it can. Everything rots. Your clothes rot. Your boots rot. Your skin rots. Jungle rot starts between your toes, spreads up your feet, turns flesh into cottage cheese. The smell is indescribable. The pain is worse. Walking feels like stepping on broken glass, covered in salt. Rain doesn't fall in the Pacific. It attacks monsoons that drop inches per hour, turning trails into rivers, foxholes into swimming pools, men into miserable, waterlogged zombies. Your poncho is useless. Water finds every gap, every seam. You're soaked to the bone in seconds and stay that way for weeks. The mud in the Pacific makes European mud look like dust. It's not just wet earth, it's decomposed vegetation. volcanic ash, and the liquefied remains of everything that's ever died in the jungle. It sucks you down to your knees, holds you there while Japanese snipers take their time aiming. Mosquitoes aren't insects in the Pacific. They're airborne vampires the size of hummingbirds. They bite through uniforms, through netting, through what's left of your sanity. Malaria is guaranteed. Not maybe, not probably, definitely. The only question is which strain you'll get, and whether the quinine will work. The heat doesn't break at night, it just gets darker. You lie in your fighting position, sweating through your third uniform of the day, listening to the jungle sounds that might be animals or might be Japanese. Either way, you're not sleeping. Dehydration is constant. Despite being surrounded by water, you can't drink the streams. They're full of parasites that will turn your intestines into water parks. You can't drink rainwater. It's contaminated by everything it touches. Furthermore, you drink from your canteen, treated with tablets that make it taste like a chemistry experiment, and hope your kidneys forgive you. Then there's the desert. North Africa introduces you to sand that gets into everything. Everything. Your rifle, your food, your lungs. Sandstorms that flay skin blind. You bury equipment. Days so hot that metal burns through gloves. Nights so cold you'd kill for those worthless gloves you cursed 12 hours ago. The desert sun is personal, it hates you specifically. No shade for miles. Just you and nuclear fusion having a staring contest. You're going to lose your skin. Blisters, peels, blisters again. Lips crack and bleed. Eyes feel like someone's rubbing them with sandpaper, and always the thirst that makes you consider drinking your own urine. Some do. Italy brings its own special hell. Mountains and rain. Climbing mountains in full gear, while Germans shoot at you from above. Rain that turns mountain paths into mudslides. Whole units swept away by flash floods. Mules falling off cliffs, taking supplies with them. You're clinging to rocks with bleeding fingers, wondering why you didn't join the Navy. Wind deserves its own mention. In the mountains, it'll blow you off a cliff. In the desert, it drives sand into your eyes until you're blind. In winter, it cuts through every layer of clothing like they're made of tissue paper. Winchell the army hasn't heard of it. You're just weak if you complain about the wind literally freezing your face off. Weather doesn't take sides, but it definitely has preferences. It prefers you dead. Sun poisoning, heat stroke, hypothermia, frostbite, trench foot, jungle, rot. The weather has more ways to kill you than the enemy does, and unlike the enemy, weather never runs out of ammunition. You adapt or die, usually both. You learn to function while soaking wet, while frozen solid, while being slowly cooked by the sun. Furthermore, you learn that suffering is just Tuesday and complaining uses energy you need for surviving. The weather forecast pain with a chance of agony, followed by extended periods of misery. But hey, at least it builds character, right? That's what the officers say from their heated command posts. While you're out here growing icicles from your nostrils or sweating out what's left of your soul. Character, sure, that's what we're calling it. Congratulations, you've survived German bullets, Japanese bonsai charges, and whether that hates you personally. Too bad. The microscopic world wants you dead too. Disease kills more soldiers than combat and the medical care. Well, let's just say you better hope for a quick death over a slow infection. Let's start with the classics. Dysentery, aka the GI's revenge, aka the screaming shits. Everyone gets it. Everyone. Your intestines become a waterslide of horror. You're sprinting to the latrine every 20 minutes. Assuming you make it often, you don't. Nothing says warrior like soiling yourself while under fire because your bowels have declared independence. The medics give you sulfur pills that might help if the dysentery is bacterial. If it's amoebic, enjoy the next 6 months of your life leaking from both ends. You'll lose 30 pounds. You can't spare blood and pray for death while squatting over yet another slit trench. Malaria is the Pacific's special gift. The mosquitoes inject you with parasites that set up shop in your liver and throw parties every few days. Fever spikes to 104. Teeth chattering so hard you crack. Merging through 3 uniforms while simultaneously freezing. Then it breaks. You feel almost human for a day. Then, surprise. Here comes round 2. The treatment, quinine, which causes ringing ears, temporary deafness, and makes you puke, or latrine, which turns your skin yellow and might make you psychotic. Choose your poison. Either way, you're taking it for months, and the malaria still comes back whenever it feels like ruining your life. Jungle rot isn't just a clever name. Your feet literally decompose. While still attached, the skin peels off in sheets. The smell makes hardened combat veterans gag. Walking feels like stepping onto hot coals. Covered in salt and battery acid. The treatment. Keep your feet dry in a jungle during monsoon season. Good luck with that. Trench foot is jungle rot's European cousin. Your feet are wet for weeks. Blood flow stops. Tissue dies. First they're numb, then they burn, then they turn black. If you're lucky, you keep your feet, but can't walk right again. If you're unlucky, the surgeon starts soaring. No anesthesia beyond a shot of morphine and a leather strap to bite. Speaking of medical care, meet your company medic. He's 19 years old, had 6 weeks of training and carries bandages, morphine and sulfur powder. That's it. Got a sucking chest wound. He'll slap a bandage on it and hope for the best. Gunshot, morphine and prayers. Missing a limb, Monica, and more morphine. Field hospitals are onerous. Bosch paintings come to life. Surgeons operating by candlelight up to their elbows in gore. Making decisions about who might live and who's not worth the effort. The trio tag system. Red means you might make it with immediate surgery. Yellow means you can wait. Black means start planning your funeral if you make it to surgery. Congratulations on winning the lottery. Now enjoy your prize. Getting cut open on a table that was sterilized by wiping it with alcohol, if they had alcohol. The surgeon's been awake for 72 hours. Straight. His hands shake from exhaustion and too much coffee. Anesthesia is either too much, you never wake up, or too little. You wake up during infection is guaranteed antibiotics. Penicillin exists, but it's rarer than a sympathetic sergeant. Most likely you get sulfur powder dumped in your wounds. It helps sometimes it doesn't. Gangrene sets in turns. Tissue black and rotten. The smell fills the ward. Everyone knows what comes next. More soaring. Blood transfusions are an adventure. Blood typing is basic. Storage is primitive. Wrong type. Your kidneys shut down. And you die pissing. Black, right type, but contaminated. Enjoy your bonus. Hepatitis or syphilis. No blood available. Saline. And hope your body figures it out. Combat, fatigue, shell shock, battle, neurosis, different names for minds breaking under pressure. You can't stop shaking. Loud noises make you dive for cover. You see dead friends in every shadow. The treatment, initially they slap you and call you a coward. Later, they might send you to a rest center for a few days. Then back to the line. Because the war needs bodies, broken or not. Veneering disease runs rampant. Every army lecture about keeping it in your pants fails. Against human nature. Gonorrhea makes pissing feel like passing molten lava. Syphilis starts as sore, progresses to madness. The treatment involves injections in places. Injection shouldn't go followed by weeks of antibiotics. You probably won't finish, because you're needed back at the front. Hepatitis spreads through contaminated water, blood, and the general filth of military life. Your skin turns yellow. You puke bile. Your liver decides it's done with this whole functioning thing. Treatment. Bed rest in a war zone while your unit moves on without you. Typhus comes, courtesy of lice. High fever, rash, delirium. You hallucinate conversations with God while your temperature cooks your brain. DDT powder is supposed to kill the lice, but it mostly just makes you cough and wonder what long-term effects you're in for. Spoiler, cancer. Lots of cancer. Frostbite isn't a disease, but might as well be. Your fingers turn white, then blue, then black. Welcome to blood poisoning. Everything wants to kill you, including your own immune system. The real treatment for most conditions is luck. Lucky if the medic reaches you. Lucky if the morphine hasn't run out. Lucky if the field hospital hasn't been shelled. Lucky if infection doesn't set in. Lucky if you heal enough to be sent home instead of back to the front. Medical records are a joke. Your shot record gets lost, so you get vaccinated again and again. Your medical history is whatever the current doc can guess from looking at you. That persistent cough could be pneumonia, tuberculosis, or just the effects of breathing cordite and corpse smoke for months. Here's the thing. Military medicine in WWII is about keeping you functional, not healthy. Can you hold a rifle? You're fit for duty. Bleeding from your ears. Here's some aspirin. Can't stop yourself. Here's a cork and get back to your post. The medics and doctors do their best with Stone Age tools and impossible conditions. They save lives through sheer determination and the kind of creativity born from desperation. But for every miracle, save 10 men die from things that wouldn't kill a civilian with access to a drugstore. You survive combat, only to be taken down by a mosquito. You dodge bullets for months, then die from an infected paper cut. Furthermore, you make it through 3 campaigns, then get sent home because your feet rotted off. War isn't just hell, it's hell with dysentery. Here's something they don't put in recruitment posters. You're going to watch your friends die, not metaphorically, not in some distant, abstract way. You're going to watch the light leave their eyes, hold their hands, while they call for their mothers and zip what's left of them into body bags. Then you're going to make new friends and watch it happen again. It starts in basic training. You bond with guys over shared misery. Johnson from Iowa who can't do a push-up. Martinez from Texas who cries every night but pretends he doesn't. Kowalski from Chicago who makes everyone laugh with impressions of the drill sergeant. You swear you'll stick together, watch each other's backs, make it home to tell stories. Johnson doesn't make it past the first week in combat. Mortar round, direct hit. 1 second, he's complaining about the C rations. Next second, he's missed, and memories you find his helmet 20 yards away. The chin strap is still buckled. Making friends in combat is like building sandcastles during high tide. You know they're temporary, but you build them anyway because the alternative is being alone with your fear. You learn not to ask about families, girlfriends, plans for after the war. Those topics make people real, and real people leave ghosts when they die. Instead, you stick to safe topics. Who's got cigarettes? Anyone seen the lieutenant? Think mail call will come today. You share foxholes, food and ammo, but you don't share dreams. Dreams are dangerous. Dreams are dangerous. Dreams make you care, but you care anyway. Can't help it. When Martinez takes shrapnel in the gut and spends 6 hours dying, you're there. You lie to him. Tell him he looks fine. He'll be dancing with Texas girls by Christmas. He knows you're lying. You know he knows, but you both pretend because what else is there? The buddy system means you're never alone, which means you're never far from tragedy. Your foxhole buddy knows when you last took a underscore, what you mumble in your sleep, how you like your terrible coffee. You know his rifle serial number better than your own because you've helped clean it so many times. You develop telepathic communication. A glance says, "I'll go." Left a nod means covering fire in 3 seconds. Then, one day he's not there. Sniper maybe, or he stepped on a mine or desentry. Finally one point is he's gone, and you're assigned a replacement who doesn't know the shorthand, doesn't know to wake you gently because sudden movements make you violent, doesn't know anything except he's probably going to die. The replacement, fresh from the States, still has all his original equipment, still calls magazines, clips, still thinks this is an adventure. You want to hate him for being new, for being alive when better men are dead. But you can't, because in 2 weeks he'll either be dead or he'll be you watching another replacement with those same hollow eyes. Let us become eulogies. You promised dying friends you'll write their families, tell them they were heroes. But what do you say? Dear Mrs. Johnson, your son died screaming for you after a German 8-8 turned his legs into hamburger. He was conscious for most of it. I held his hand while he underscored himself and bled out. He was 19. No, you write lies. He died bravely, instantly fighting for freedom. You leave out the parts about him crying, begging, trying to stuff his intestines back inside. Their families need heroes, not truth. Dog tags become morbid jewelry. You're supposed to take one, leave one with the body. But sometimes there's nobody. Sometimes there's too much body spread over too wide an area, so you collect tags, carry them until you can turn them in. They clink in your pocket, a metallic reminder of faces you're already forgetting. You develop superstitions about friendship. Don't learn names until they survive a week. Don't look at photos of their families. Don't make plans together. Don't use the word when, only if. If we make it, if we get home, if we survive this underscore war. But loneliness is its own kind of death. So you break your rules. You learn that Kowalski's real name is Stanley. He's got a girl named Betty. He wants to open a hardware store. After the war you let him teach you Polish curse words. You share your last chocolate bar from home. You pretend there's an after. Then Kowalski catches a burst from a machine gun, 6 rounds center mass. He's dead before he hits the ground, which is a mercy. You take his dog tag, his letters from Betty, the photo he carried. You promise yourself you'll send them home. You promise yourself you'll tell Betty he talked about her constantly, but furthermore, you never do. What would be the point? She's moved on, or she hasn't, but either way, a letter from you won't help. You carry his things for a month, then leave them in a burned-out church somewhere in France. The war moves on, so do you. Replacement cycles become a cruel joke. New guys show up. You can see their expiration dates floating above their heads. The ones who talk too much die first. The ones who freeze under fire die second. The ones who think they're invincible die first. The quiet ones who do exactly what veterans tell them might make it a month. You stop learning names. They're all replacement or new guy or hey. Why bother with names when they will be statistics by Sunday? The other veterans understand. You develop a language of grunts and nods that says everything important. That one won't last. This one might. Don't get attached. But sometimes one surprises. You survives longer than expected, starts to grow. That 1,000 stare that marks a real soldier. You almost start to hope. Then a random artillery shell or a lucky sniper shot or a mine left over from last year's fighting, and hope dies with them. The worst are the ones who almost make it. The guys who survive 11 months and catch a bullet during a quiet patrol. The ones who get their orders home then step on a mine. The ones who die after the official ceasefire because nobody told that German artillery unit the war's over. You carry their ghosts, not metaphorically. You hear Johnson laughing at night. See Martinez in your peripheral vision. Feel Kowalski tap your shoulder during firefights. Combat vets don't talk about this because admitting you're haunted means admitting you're broken. And broken soldiers get sent to special hospitals. They don't come back from . So you pretend the ghosts aren't there. Pretend you don't save cigarettes for dead men. Pretend you don't leave space. Look at with awe and fear. You want to tell them the secret to survival, but the truth is, there isn't one. You're alive through pure cosmic accident, nothing more. The friends you swore you'd remember, their faces fade, their names get jumbled. Was it Johnson from Iowa or Johnson from Idaho? Was Martinez shot or blown up? You hate yourself for forgetting, but forgetting is the only way to make room for the next batch of friends you'll watch die. That's the real casualty of war, not just the bodies, the connections, the brotherhood forged in shared terror, dissolved in blood and time. You'll go home eventually. If you're lucky, you'll have a life, a family, a job, but you'll always be looking for them. Johnson, Martinez, Kowalski, all the others. They'll always be 19. You'll grow old. That's survival. That's victory. That's the price. Your hands won't stop shaking. Started last week during that barrage. Figured they'd stop when the shelling did. They didn't. Now you're trying to light a cigarette, and it looks like you're conducting an orchestra in an earthquake. The other guys pretend not to notice. They've got their own symphonies going. Shell, shock, combat, fatigue, battle. Neurosis. The army's got lots of names for what happens when your mind decides it's had enough of this underscore and starts checking out without permission. In the last war, they shot men for cowardice when they couldn't stop shaking. This war, they're slightly more understanding. Slightly. It starts small. Maybe you flinch when someone drops a mess kit. Maybe you can't sleep unless you're holding your rifle. Maybe you keep seeing movement in the corner of your eye. Germans flanking, Japanese charging. But when you look, it's just trees, just shadows, always just shadows. The 1,000 stare arrives. Uninvited, one day you realize you're looking through things instead of at them. Your eyes focus somewhere past the horizon, past the war, past caring. Conversations happen around you, not with you. Someone asks if you're okay. You say yes. You're lying. They know they ask anyway because what else is there to do? Sleep becomes your enemy. Close your eyes, and you're back in that pillbox flame. Your face. Or you're watching Thompson step on that mine again and again, and Again. The explosion happens in slow motion. You can see every piece of shrapnel, trace its trajectory, know exactly where it's going to hit him. You try to warn him, but your mouth won't work. Furthermore, you wake up screaming. Everyone's awake anyway. Nobody mentions it. At breakfast, your body develops its own PTSD. Sudden noises make you hit the dirt. A car backfire stateside. You're face down in a ditch before your brain catches up. Your heart hammers like machine gun fire. Your body dumps adrenaline like it's still 1944. And that sound means incoming people. Stare. You pretend you tripped. Everyone pretends to believe you. The shakes come and go. Sometimes it's just your hands. Sometimes your whole body vibrates. Like a tuning for cold sweats in 90 heat. You tell the medic you might have malaria. He looks at your eyes, sees something else entirely, gives you aspirin and tells you to get some rest. Rest, right? That's hilarious. You start self-medicating. Everyone does. The army provides cigarettes like they're vitamin C. 3 packs a day becomes normal. Your fingers are yellow. Your lungs sound like a cement mixer. But at least holding a cigarette gives your shaking hands something to do. Booze, when you can get it. Wine from liberated French cellars. Schnapps from German bunkers. Anything that might make the edges less sharp. Might let you sleep without dreams. You're not drunk. You're managing symptoms. There's a difference. You think there's a difference. Some guys find religion. Foxhole. Conversions are real. Nothing like artillery to make you reconsider your relationship with God. They clutch rosaries, recite prayers, promise to become priests if they survive. Some keep that promise. Most realize God was just another desperate hope in a hopeless place. Others go the opposite direction. If God exists, he's got a sick sense of humor. What kind of deity lets 19-year-olds burn alive in tanks? Makes you step over pieces of children to advance. The chaplain says, it's all part of a plan. You want to punch the chaplain, but your hands are shaking too bad to make a fist. Anger becomes your default setting, not hot anger that burns out fast. This is cold, constant, like frostbite in your soul. You're angry at the Germans for starting this, angry at the officers for continuing it, angry at replacements for being new, angry at veterans for being alive, angry at the dead for leaving, angry at yourself for caring. The medics start handing out sodium, Pentagon, truth serum, they call it, supposed to help you talk about the trauma. You take it. Spill your guts about things you've seen, things you've done, feel better for about an hour, then the memories come back harder, sharper, with interest. Now you've got guilt on top of everything else. Some guys crack completely. One day they're functioning, next day they're catatonic. Or they start walking toward enemy lines without weapons, like they're going to the corner store. Or they sit down and refuse to move, speak, acknowledge existence. The look in their eyes isn't 1,000 yards anymore. It's million mile. They're so far gone, they're in another universe. They get shipped out. Combat exhaustion. The papers say, the replacement pipeline works both directions. New meat arrives, broken meat leaves. You wonder if the broken ones are the smart ones. At least they're done. At least they found an exit that doesn't require a body bag. You develop tics. Maybe you check your rifle constantly, obsessively. Every 5 minutes you're checking the action, counting ammunition. Maybe you can't eat without your back to a wall. Maybe you refuse to take your boots off because the one time you did, mortar started falling, and you ran barefoot through snow. And now your feet and footwear are permanently linked in your broken brain. Letters from home make it worse. Your girl writes about dancers, movies, normal life. Your mum sends cookies and asks if you're eating enough. They want the boy who left. That boy is gone, killed somewhere between Normandy and here. You're what's left. And you don't know how to explain that to people who think war is John Wayne movies and victory gardens. You start forgetting home, not the facts. Furthermore, you remember your address, your family's names, but the feeling of it, safety, comfort, the idea that you can walk down a street without checking rooftops for dot snipers. That garbage in the road is just garbage, not camouflaged mines. That silence means peace, not ambush. These concepts become fiction stories you tell yourself, but can't quite believe the worst part. You're still functional, still fighting, still following orders. The army doesn't care if you're held together with cigarettes and rage. As long as you can point a rifle the right direction, you're broken, but not broken enough. A perfect soldier. Too damaged to ever be whole again, not damaged enough to go home. You see it in the other guys too. Williams hasn't slept more than 2 hours straight in months. Every time he closes his eyes, he's back in that burning tank, clawing at the hatch. Henderson talks to his dead squad, constantly full conversations with ghosts. Murphy collects ears from dead Germans, strings them on a necklace. Nobody says anything. What's the point? We're all insane here. The shaking gets worse before battles. Your body knows what's coming, starts dumping chemicals before your brain catches up. You puke from nerves. Everyone does. The new guys think it's fear. It's not fear. Fear is rational. This is your body trying to escape a situation. Your mind won't let you leave. Sometimes you break in small ways. Can't tie your boots one morning. The laces might as well be advanced calculus. You stare at them for 20 minutes until someone does it for you. Nobody mocks. Tomorrow it might be them staring at their laces like they hold the secrets of the universe. You learn to hide the worst of it. Keep the screaming internal. Save the crying for when you're alone on watch. Don't let the officers see how bad it's getting. Officers who show weakness disappear, replaced by fresh lieutenants who will get everyone killed with their textbook tactics. Better the devil, you know, even if that devil is you. The medics run out of answers. Pills for sleep that don't work. Pills for nerves that make you foggy. Pills for pain that just mask different pain. You become a walking pharmacy, rattling with tablets that treat symptoms of symptoms. Your body is here, but your mind is scattered across every battlefield, every close call, every friend's death. Some guys find ways to cope. Daniels writes everything down, fills notebook after notebook with things he can't say out loud. Peterson draws sketches of dead Germans, destroyed towns, things that would horrify civilians, but make perfect sense to anyone who's been here. Art therapy, before anyone called it that. Others find darker outlets. Roberts volunteers for every patrol, every dangerous mission. Death wish or adrenaline junkie? Both, neither, he says. He feels normal only when bullets are flying, only when death is inches away. Between fights, he's empty. Combat fills the void. The officers love him. The medics are taking bets on when he'll catch the bullet he's chasing. You try to explain it in letters home, but words fail. How do you describe the sound a man makes when napalm hits? The smell of a massed grave in summer, the weight of shooting a kid who might have had a grenade, might have been reaching for surrender. You write, I'm fine and food's terrible and miss you too. The real stories stay locked inside, eating you like acid. The army solution is always the same. Suck it up, soldier. They hand out pamphlets about combat fatigue that read like they were written by someone who learned about war from newsreels. Get plenty of rest, right? Maintain a positive attitude. Sure, remember, you're fighting for freedom. Freedom to wake up screaming for the next 40 years. Time becomes elastic. Minutes in combat feel like hours. Months pass in blinks. You can't remember if that Petrov was yesterday or last month. All the days blur together. Mud, blood, noise, silence, repeat. You're unstuck in time, existing in all moments simultaneously. Past, present, future collapse into one endless now of hypervigilance and exhaustion. Your personality changes. The kid who enlisted optimistic, funny, full of plans is buried under layers of trauma. You're harder now, colder. You laugh at things that should horrify. Find humor in darkness, because light humor died with your innocence. Furthermore, you're becoming someone your mother wouldn't recognize, someone you don't recognize, but you adapt. Humans are disgustingly adaptable. You learn to function with the shakes, to shoot straight despite trembling hands. You learn to sleep in 10-minute increments, one eye open. Furthermore, you learn that sanity is optional, survival is mandatory. The thousand stare becomes your resting face. The shakes become part of your personality. The nightmares become normal. This is you now. This is what survival looks like. Not heroic, not pretty, just continuous forward motion. Despite your mind screaming, stop, they'll call you heroes when you get home, paint you as brave warriors who saved the world. They won't mention the pants _ terror, the crying, the begging, the breakdown. Furthermore, they won't talk about how you're held together with nicotine and spite. Furthermore, they won't understand why you can't sit with your back to a door, or why 4th of July fireworks make you dive under tables. But that's later, right? Now you're still here, still fighting, still pretending your hands don't shake, still lying. When they ask if you're okay, you're not okay, haven't been okay in months, maybe years, maybe ever again, but you're alive. That has to count for something, doesn't it? Male call to words that can make grown men cry with joy or devastation. The mail clock shows up with a bag of letters, and suddenly everyone's a kid on Christmas morning, except some kids get presents and others get nothing. But the reminder that nobody's writing anymore. You crowd around like starving men at a soup kitchen. Names get called: Anderson, Baker, Crawford. Each name is salvation. Each gap between names is agony. You try to look casual, like you don't care, like your entire mental health doesn't hinge on whether a piece of paper traveled 4,000 miles to find you. Davidson, that's you. Your hands shake as you take the letter. Could be from Mum, could be from your girl, could be the Dear John letter you've been dreading since. You notice her letters getting shorter, less frequent, less full of when you get home, and more full of if you get home. You don't open it right away. Nobody does. Letters are sacred. You find a quiet spot, as quiet as it gets, with artillery in the distance, and prepare yourself. This letter is a time machine for the next few minutes. You're not in a hole in France, or on some godforsaken island. You're home. Mum writes about the Victory Garden, how the tomatoes are coming in nice. She doesn't mention that your kid, brother got drafted last month. Doesn't mention the telegrams. other mothers on the streets have gotten. She keeps it light, normal, like you're away at summer camp instead of watching people you know turn into hamburger. Your girl writes about dancers at the US, how she misses you, how she's being good, waiting, counting days. She includes a photo her in that dress. You like the blue one. You stare at it until your eyes water, not from tears, from forgetting how to blink. She's so clean, so whole, so impossibly far from anything in your current reality. The letters smell like home. Mom includes cookies that arrive as crumbs, but you eat them anyway, savoring the taste of a kitchen that doesn't explode. Your girl sprays perfume on hers. It mixes with mildew and cordite to create something that breaks your heart in new ways. You write back, but what do you say? Can't tell them about Henderson, who got his face blown off but lived for 3 hours, trying to scream through a mouth that wasn't there. Can't mention the village, where you found things that made everyone puke, even the veterans. Can't explain how you've aged 20 years and 20 months, so you lie. I'm doing fine. Food's not bad. The guys are swell. French girls aren't as pretty as you. You ask about neighbors, relatives, anything normal. You pretend to care about Cousin Eddie's new job at the factory. Furthermore, you make jokes that would have been funny from the boy who left, but sound hollow from whatever you are now. Email makes it worse. Victory mail. Those little photographic letters that save shipping space. 1 page. That's all. They photograph it, shrink it, send it, blow it back up. Efficient also means you have to compress everything you want to say into 1 page. 1 page to maintain a connection to a world that's moving on without you, that censors read everything, can't mention where you are. Loose lips, sink ships. Can't describe battles, might help the enemy. Can't be honest about conditions bad for morale. Your letters become Mad Libs, where all the important parts are blacked out. Today we were at censored and thought censored. I am censored, but managing to censored. Some guys get creative, develop codes with their families. When I mention Uncle Tony, that means Italy. If I ask about the dog, I'm okay. If I ask about the cat, things are bad. The censors probably know, but let it slide. Even they understand the need to say something real. Then come the dear John. Letters always start the same. I've been thinking this is hard to write. You deserve to know she met. You're wearing his dog tags. But you're not him, haven't been him since your first firefight. She's mourning someone who's technically still alive, and that's harder than mourning the dead. Worst letters are the ones that stop coming. Maybe she got tired of writing. Maybe she died in a bombing raid. The Germans are hitting London. The home front isn't as safe as they pretend. Maybe she just forgot about you. You'll never know. The silence is louder than artillery. Some guys stop writing home. What's the point? Every letter is a lie, a performance for people who can't understand. Your mother wants her baby boy. Your girl wants her sweetheart. Neither exists anymore. You're a ghostwriting to people who knew you when you were alive. The replacement gets letters from home, full of pride. Our son, the hero. His mum sends newspaper clippings about the war efforts, war bonds, victory gardens. She has no idea. Her hero spends most nights crying into his helmet, praying for a wound bad enough to go home, but not bad enough to die. Mail from dead men arrives. That's always fun. Johnson's mother still writes to him 2 months after you scraped him off a tree. The letters pile up. Someone should write her, tell her to stop. Nobody does. Let her have hoped a little longer. The official telegram will come eventually. Until then, she can believe he's too busy being heroic to write back. You start to hate mail. Call the hope, the disappointment, the reminder that somewhere people are living normal lives. They're worried about ration cards while you're rationing ammunition. They're planting gardens while you're planting mines. Furthermore, they're planning futures while you're not sure if you'll see next Tuesday. But you keep writing, keep lying, keep pretending, because those letters are their lifeline too. They need to believe you're okay, need to believe their sacrifice. Sending sons and lovers to war means something. Your lies keep them functional, just like their letters keep you human. The gap widens with each exchange. They write about movies you'll never see, songs you'll never hear, changes you'll never be part of. You write about carefully edited adventures, buddies who are definitely still alive, French wine that definitely doesn't taste like paint, thinner mixed with regret. Time moves differently in letters. By the time you read about Christmas, it's February. By the time they read your response, it's April. You're communicating across time as well as distance. Ghosts writing to ghosts. Everyone pretending the conversation makes sense. Eventually, if you survive, you'll go home. You'll sit at the kitchen table you've dreamed about for years. Your mother will make that pot roast you remembered through a 100k rations. Your girl, if she waited, will wear that blue dress and you'll have nothing to say, because the words that would make them understand are the words that would break them. So you'll smile, nod, say it wasn't so bad. You'll let them believe the letters were true. You'll bury the real stories with your friends into French dirt and Pacific sand. The letters will go in a box in the attic, evidence of a conversation between people who no longer exists. Your mother will keep them. Proof. Her boy was okay. You'll never read them again. Can't bear to see who you were pretending to be. But for now, in this foxhole, with artillery playing bass drums in the distance, you carefully fold her letter along the same creases, tuck it in your breast, pocket next to the others, feel the weight of home against your chest. Tomorrow, you'll write back. Tell her you're fine. Tell her about the funny thing Kowalski said, leaving out that Kowalski's been dead since Tuesday. Tell her you love her. That part, at least, is true. The mail clear moves on. Some guys got packages, some got nothing. Henderson's still getting letters from his dead brother's wife. Nobody's told her yet. Nobody wants that job. You light a cigarette with shaking hands. Read her letter again. Try to remember what her voice sounds like. Can't quite manage it. That world, her world, the world you're fighting for, feels like something you dreamed once. But you keep a letter. Anyway, keep all of them. They're proof that somewhere in a universe you can barely imagine anymore, you matter to someone who thinks you're still the boy who left for war. That boy would have loved these letters. You just hope he enjoys them. Wherever he is, they call it rest and recuperation, R&R. 2 days in Paris if you're in Europe. Maybe Sydney if you're in the Pacific. 48 hours to pretend you're human again. To remember what civilization smells like. To discover you've forgotten how to function in it. The truck pulls up, and the sergeant reads names. You're on the list. Should feel like winning the lottery instead. It feels like being exiled from the only world that makes sense anymore. But you climb aboard because orders are orders, even when they're ordering you to have fun. Paris, the city of light. Even with blackout curtains and sandbags around monuments, you roll in covered in mud, blood and 3 months of accumulated filth. French civilians stare, some with pity, some with fear, most with a tired indifference of people who have seen too many soldiers pass through. First stop dealing station. They spray you with DDT, powder like your livestock. Which fair? You've been living like an animal so long you've forgotten it's abnormal. Strip, shower, more powder. They burn your uniforms. Good riddance. Those threads have seen things fabric shouldn't witness. Clean uniform feels wrong. Too soft, too intact. No holes from shrapnel, no stains from things you don't think about. You look in a mirror for the first time in months. The face staring back is yours, but older, thinner, with eyes that look like they're seeing through time. You practice smiling, it looks like a wound. They give you money francs that feel like play money. What are you supposed to do with this? Buy something? What could you possibly need that fits in a foxhole? But you pocket it because that's what normal people do with money. You're impersonating a normal person now. The hotel is impossibly clean, sheets that aren't mud, a mattress that doesn't squelch, a roof that probably won't collapse under artillery fire. You sit on the bed, fully dressed, rifle lean weight. Where's your rifle? Panic can't breathe. Where's your _rifle? Right, they took it. You're safe. Safe. The word has no meaning. You sleep on the floor that night, back against the wall facing the door. The bed's too soft, too exposed. At 0430, you're awake, ready for stand 2, except there's no stand 2, just you alone in a room that's too quiet. Breakfast in a real cafe. The coffee isn't made from burnt acorns and hope. The bread isn't hard enough to stop bullets. The waiter doesn't understand why you're crying over a croissant. You don't understand either. It tastes like the world you're supposedly fighting for, and that world feels like a fever dream. You wander the streets, other GIS, everywhere, all with the same lost, look like kids at a carnival after closing time. Everything's here, bars, restaurants, girls who smile for money, but you can't connect. You're watching life through glass, present but not participating. The bar fills with soldiers It's what you're supposed to do on leave. Have fun, relax, forget the war for 48 hours, but the war doesn't forget you. A car backfires and 6 GIs hit the floor. A woman laughs and it sounds like screaming. The wine is red, like no, don't think about it. Drink more, think less. That's the ticket. The girls are beautiful, clean, whole. They speak French, which sounds like music. After months of incoming and medic, one takes your arm, leads you upstairs. She's professional about it. You're another soldier, another payday. She's seen 1,000. Like you want to feel something, anything, but your body's forgotten what to do with soft touches. You're programmed for violence, not tenderness. She's patient. She's seen this before too. Eventually biology wins, but it's mechanical empty. You pay her anyway. She kisses your cheek, calls you poison. Poor boy. You want to tell her, she has no idea. Back on the streets, more bars, more drinks. Some guys are fighting about what? Who knows? Who cares? Fighting makes sense. It's familiar. You understand fists and blood. This fake peace is what's killing you. You meet up with Johnson from 3rd Platoon. He's drunk, weaving, trying to dance with a mannequin. She's perfect. He slurs, doesn't talk, doesn't leave, doesn't care that I can't stop seeing faces in the wallpaper. You buy him another drink. What else is there to do? The tourist spots are open. Sort of notable, has sandbags, but still stands. The Eiffel Tower is closed. The Louds paintings are hidden. You take pictures anyway. With a camera you bought but don't know how to use something to prove you were here in civilization. Being civilized, but you're not civilized. You eat like you're in a foxhole, fast, hunched over, guarding your plate. Furthermore, you can't sit with your back to a room. Furthermore, you count exits, windows, potential weapons. That bottle could bash skulls. That chair could block doors. You're a combat computer, unable to power down. Night falls. Paris tries to sparkle through the blackout. You're supposed to be having the time of your life. Instead, you're counting hours until you can go back. Back to where things make sense. Back to where hypervigilance is helpful, not a handicap. You try the cinema, moving pictures in the dark. What could go wrong? Everything. The darkness feels like an ambush. The screen's flashes look like muzzle fire. You last 10 minutes before fleeing, gasping for air that doesn't smell like cordite, but should. Another bar, another drink, another GI crying into his whiskey about a girl back home who stopped writing. You want to comfort him. But what would you say? That it gets better? It doesn't? That she waits? She won't? That he'll be okay? Look at you. You're the okay. He's heading toward the MP's patrol keeping order. Fights break out hourly. Soldiers who've been trained to kill, suddenly dumped into civilization with money and alcohol. What did they expect? You watch one kid, couldn't be 19, punch through a window because the glass reminded him of something. The MPs are gentle. They've seen it all before. You run into a guy from your company, Thompson, except Thompson's dead. You saw him die. This is Williams. Right, Williams, easy mistake. All the faces blur together. Living, dead. What's the difference? You're all ghosts. Some just haven't stopped moving yet. The second day is worse. The novelty's worn off. You're hungover. You're tired of pretending. Furthermore, you want your rifle. You want your unit. Furthermore, you want the simplicity of kill or be killed. This grey area of relaxation is torture. You try buying souvenirs. What do people want from Paris? Perfume for mum. She wouldn't recognize the son who's buying it. A scarf for your girl. Which girl? The one who stopped writing, or the one you haven't met yet because you'll be too broken to love properly? You settle on postcards, pre-written lies about the beauty of Paris. You don't mention the GI vomiting in the fountain, or the one arrested for trying to dig a foxhole in the park. Furthermore, you don't explain that Paris is beautiful like a cemetery is beautiful, peaceful, only because it's full of dead things. The hours crawl. You check your watch obsessively. Almost time, almost back. You're eager to return to hell, because at least hell has rules. You understand? Here you're supposed to be happy, grateful, recuperated. You're none of those things. The truck arrives to take you back. Everyone climbs aboard silently. No one talks about their 48 hours of fun. No one mentions the fights, the tears, the inability to feel anything but displacement. You're all eager to return to the war that's killing you, because at least there you know who you are. As Paris disappears behind you, you feel relief. Back to the line, back to the mud, back to the clarity of violence. R&R is over, thank God, and they gave you 48 hours to remember what you're fighting for. All it did was remind you what you've lost. The front lines welcome you back with artillery. It sounds like home. Your foxhole is right where you left it, flooded and filthy. You slide in like putting on a comfortable shoe. This makes sense. This you understand. Your rifle is returned. You check it obsessively. Action, ammunition, sling, everything in place. The weight feels right. Your hands stop shaking for the first time in 48 hours. How was Paris? Someone asks. Fine. You lie. Everyone lies. Welcome back to the war, soldier. The only place you fit anymore. You smell them before you see them. That's what nobody tells you. The camps have a smell that rewrites your understanding of horror. It's sweet and rotten and chemical all at once. It coats your throat, your lungs, your soul. Decades later, certain combinations of scents will transport you back instantly. Burning, hair, lie, death, industrial-sized. The rumors have been circulating for months. Camps, mass graves, systematic, something that your brain couldn't quite process, because even after everything you've seen, some horrors are too big to fit in a human mind. You figured it was propaganda, exaggeration. After all, you've learned that the first casualty of war is truth. Then your unit liberates its first camp. The gates are open when you arrive. The guards have fled. Good thing, because every man in your unit has murder in his heart within. 30 seconds of entering. Bodies can't handle it. Receding. Syndrome. Give them a chocolate bar, and it might kill them. So you stand there, liberators, with nothing to liberate them with, except the absence of their tormentors. It's not enough. It will never be enough. Your years too late. Millions too late. The barracks are worse than the yard-stacked bunks filled with. You can't call them people anymore. They're geometry angles where flesh used to be. Some are alive, some aren't. Sometimes you can't tell until they blink. 3, 4, 5 to a bunk meant for one, the living, tangled with the dead because no one had strength. To move the bodies, you find the children's barracks. That's when the hardest men in your unit break completely. Kids, babies, some of them experiments. The word feels clean compared to what you're looking at. Medical experiments, like they were lab rats. Worse than lab rats. At least scientists pretend to care about keeping rats alive. The paperwork is still on the desks. Neat, German, efficiency. Names, numbers, procedures, results. Everything documented, forms filled out in triplicates. Horror, bureaucratized. You realize this wasn't madness. Madness would be easier to understand. This was rational, planned, budgeted. Someone did cost-benefit analysis on murder. Outside, you find the mass graves. Bulldozers are brought in not to bury the dead. There are too many for individual graves to uncover them, for evidence, for witnesses, for the world that won't believe without seeing. The bulldog blade catches on something. Bodies tumble out like broken dolls. Hundreds, thousands, a waterfall of humanity. Your job is to document, take pictures, collect evidence, force yourself to see, to remember, because someone has to. The world has to know, has to. But your camera feels obscene. These were people with names, families, dreams. Now they're evidence. Exhibit A in humanity's case against itself. The survivors try to help skeletal figures carrying bodies twice their weight. Because dignity matters, even here. Especially here, they know names, stories. This was David. He was a violinist. This was Sarah. She had 3 children. They insist on telling you, making sure someone knows these weren't just bodies. They were people. Some of your unit want revenge, want to find the guards, the commandant, the people who did this, make them pay. The lieutenant stops them. We're not them. He says we follow rules, Geneva Convention. But you can see it in his eyes. He wants blood too. Everyone does. How can you not? You find the guard quarters comfortable, pictures of families on desks, letters from home, hope you're well. The garden is coming in nicely. Little hens took his first steps. Normal life, 100 yards from the ovens. You want to understand how? How does someone gas children, then go home to kiss their own kids goodnight? Your brain breaks trying to process it. The local civilians claim they didn't know. The camp is 5 miles from town. The smoke has been rising for years. The smell carries on the wind. They knew they had to know, but they perfected not seeing, not smelling, not knowing, because knowing would mean choosing, and choosing would mean risk. You're ordered to march German civilians through the camp, force them to see. Some faint, some vomit, some cry, some still claim ignorance. We didn't know. The liars practiced desperate. A few honest ones whisper, we knew. But what could we do? At least, that's true for when it's cowardice. Medical units arrive, real doctors, not combat medics with morphine and hope. They set up hospitals in the barracks, start IVs, nutrition that won't kill actual medicine. But for so many, it's too late. They survived until liberation, then died free. There's something both beautiful and horrible in that you help where you can distribute blankets, write down names, listen to stories told in broken English or through translators. Everyone wants their story heard, wants someone to know they existed, that they were teachers, shopkeepers, mothers, musicians, that they were human before they were reduced to numbers tattooed on arms. The tattoos production numbers like cattle, but cattle gets treated better. You've seen how the army treats horses with more care than the Nazis treated humans. The numbers are neat, orderly. Someone's job was tattooing children. They got up, tattooed kids, went home day after day. It's the banality that breaks you. Evil should be special. This was routine. Nights are harder. You've billeted in abandoned German houses. Sleep in beds that belong to people who maybe probably knew you can't sleep. None of you can. You've seen hell before. Thought war was hell. War is Sunday. School compared to this. This is what happens when humans decide other humans aren't human. You write home, but what do you say, dear Mom? Today I discovered there's no God, because no God would allow this, dear sweet Betty. I found a room full of children's shoes, thousands of them sorted by size. You write nothing. There are no words. English hasn't invented words for this. More camps are liberated, each one worse than the last, or maybe not worse, just different flavors of the same infinite horror. Your unit becomes expert at the routine. Secure the area, document everything, tend the living, count the dead, try not to let it destroy. You fail at that last part. You start smoking more. 3 packs a day becomes 4, 5. Anything to kill the taste in your mouth. The other guys drink whatever they can find. German. Schnapps tastes like victory in ashes. You drink it anyway. Drunk is better than sober. When sober means remembering, the survivors start gaining weight, smiling occasionally, looking human again. It should feel like victory. It DOESN, single quotes. It don't. Every saved life is shadowed by millions who weren't saved. You got here in 1945. They started this in 1933.12 years. 12 years, that is happening while the world did what you think about. Every pre-warn, every piece in our time headline, every moment, the world chose not to see. And you wonder if you'd have cared back home, eating Mom's pot roast, if someone had told you. Or would you have changed the radio station, not wanting to spoil? You're supposed to be happy. The good guys won, but standing in a camp, watching bulldozers uncover another mass grave victory feels like a word from a dead language. How do you celebrate when you've seen what humans are capable of? You'll go home eventually, attend parades, be called a hero. People will thank you for your service. You'll nod, smile, that practice smile. But part of you will always be standing at those gates, realizing you're too late, that everyone was too late, that the real enemy wasn't the Denmark or the S, it was the human capacity to look away. Years later, someone will claim it didn't happen, that it's exaggerated, that 6 million is impossible, and you'll want to grab them, drag them back in time, shove their face in the ashes and scream, "Look." But you won't. You'll just get quiet, light another cigarette with hands that still shake, and change the subject. Because some things are too true to argue about. Some things you don't debate. You just carry them forever. New island, same nightmare. That's the Pacific Campaign in a nutshell. Each fatal, each volcanic rock, each strategic objective is just another way to die in paradise. The travel brochures never mention the parts where paradise tries to kill you in creative new ways. The pattern never changes. Naval bombardment that's supposed to soften the target soften, like the Japanese, are made of butter and will melt under enough heat. The ships fire for hours, days. The island disappears under smoke and flame. Surely nothing could survive that. Surely this time will be different. It's never different. You load into Higgins boats, those floating coffins that smell like diesel and vomit. 36 men packed shoulder to shoulder, rifles up, heads down, everyone praying to whatever God hasn't abandoned them yet. The engine screams, the boat lurches, and somehow everyone's seasick again. Despite months at sea, the run to the beach takes forever and no time at all. Bullets ping off. The metal sides like deadly rain. The guy next to you jokes about something, trying to ease the tension. Nobody laughs. Can't hear him anyway, over the engines and the fear pounding in your ears. Then the ramp drops. This is the moment, the one they'll make movies about. Except movies don't capture the sound of machine guns turning human bodies into confetti. Movies don't show the water turning red chunky with pieces of people you ate breakfast with. Movies definitely don't show you slipping on your buddy's intestines as you try to reach the beach. The Japanese have had years to prepare. Every island is a fortress, bunkers carved into coral, invisible until they open fire. Interconnected tunnels that let them pop up behind you. Fields of fire calculated with mathematical precision. They've registered every inch of beach, know exactly where you'll take cover, that nice rock you're hiding behind. They've got it zeroed. But the real nightmare is the coral. Looks beautiful from a distance. Up close, it's nature's razor wire. Your landing craft grounds on the reef, still 500 WWII from shore. Ramp drops into chested water. Now you're winging through liquid hell while carrying 80 pounds of gear. Machine guns have all the time in the world to find you. The water's full of more than bullets. Blood brings sharks. You're bleeding from coral cuts, trying not to think about the triangular fins cutting through the waves. Is that worse than machine guns? At least the machine guns are quick. But you keep moving, because forward is the only direction that doesn't guarantee death. Make it to the beach, and the real fun begins. Sand provides zero cover. It's like being on the moon, if the moon was actively trying to murder you. No vegetation, no rocks big enough to matter. Just open beach and Japanese bunkers with interlocking fields of fire. Your training said, find cover. The island says, die. The Japanese don't surrender ever. That's not propaganda, that's fact. They've been told you'll torture them, that surrender is worse than death. Their officers tell them dying for the emperor is the highest honor, so they fight. Every bunker has to be taken, every cave cleared, every spider hole checked. FLAMETHROWERS. Become your best friend and worst nightmare. Nothing clears a bunker like napalm, but using one makes you a priority target. The tank strapped to your back might as well have shot me first. Painted on them, and when they hit you, or you become a human torch, your screams carry across the battlefield. Everyone stops shooting for a second because that dot sound rewrites the definition of agony. The bonsai charges come at night, always at night. Hundreds of Japanese soldiers screaming, bayonets fixed, running straight at your lines. Not tactics, suicide, but suicide that takes Americans with them. You mow them down with machine guns, but they keep coming. Step over their dead comrades, use the bodies as shields, keep coming. You learn to sleep with your finger on the trigger. Learn that the rustling might be land, crabs, or might be infiltrators. Learn to challenge everything that moves. Password games in the dark, flash thunder, get it wrong and eat a grenade. Some Japanese learn the passwords. Now you can't trust anything. The caves are worse than the charges. Japanese soldiers dig in deep, interconnected tunnel systems that go on for miles. You can't bypass them. They'll hit you from behind. Can't bomb them out. They're too deep. Have to go in after them. Guard cave fighting. Is Vietnam before Vietnam. Dark, claustrophobic, full of traps, tripwires, pudgy stakes, false floors. The Japanese wait in the dark with swords, grenades, willing to die to take one American with them. Your flamethrower man goes first, hosing liquid fire into the darkness. Sometimes it works. Sometimes he triggers a mine and becomes pink mist. You learn to use satchel charges, explosives on a stick shoved into cave mouths. The boom echoes underground, hopefully collapsing tunnels, definitely bursting eardrums. Sometimes the Japanese throw them back, hot potato with dynamite. Winner gets to keep his limbs. When you finally clear a cave, you find things stacked, bodies of Japanese soldiers who chose suicide over surrender, mass death, self-inflicted officers who beheaded their men before killing themselves. Ritual suicide with grenades held against heads. The smell is indescribable. Death, marinated in tropical heat and humidity. But worse are the civilians. Okinawa has Japanese families who've been told Americans are monsters, told we'll rape their women, eat their children. So when we advance, they jump off cliffs, mothers throwing babies first. Then following hundreds of civilians falling like rain, because death is better than what they think will do. You try to stop them, use loudspeakers, interpreters pleading in broken Japanese. We don't hurt civilians. We have food, medicine. They don't believe you. Why would they? The government has been preparing them to die for years, so they die. And you watch, and there's nothing you can do. The Japanese use everything as weapons. Civilians with grenades, strapped under kimonos, children with mines, old women who bow politely, then pull pins on hidden explosives. You learn to trust nothing, no one. That farmer might be a farmer, might be a soldier, might be both. Shoot first or risk your squad. Disease is constant. Malaria turns you into a shivering, sweating mess. Dengue fever feels like your bones are breaking. Dysentery means you're fighting. 2 battles, one against the Japanese, one against your own intestines. Everyone's sick, that the healthy ones are just better at hiding it. Your feet rot in the humidity. Dungle rot spreads up your legs. Fungal infections turn your skin into something from a horror movie. The Norman has sulfur, powder and prayers. Both seem equally effective. You learn to walk on feet that look like ground hamburger, because stopping means someone else takes points. Rain never stops. Not clean rain. Tropical deluges that turn everything into soup. Your foxhole fills. Your ammunition corrode. Your skin never dries. Mosquitoes form clouds thick enough to see. Between the rain, the rot, and the bugs, the Japanese are almost a secondary concern. Each island blurs into the next. Sipan, Balat, Iesima, Okinawa. The names change, but the game doesn't take the airfield. Clear the bunkers, count the dead, load up for the next one. You stop learning the names. They're all just the island now. Your unit shrinks with each landing. Replacements arrive, fresh-faced kids who think they're ready. They last days, sometimes hours. One kid couldn't be 17, though he swore he was 18. Catches a sniper round, stepping off the landing craft, never even made it to the beach. You don't learn his name. The Japanese get more desperate as the war progresses. Kamikaze attacks on the ships, human-guided torpedoes. They're turning their whole population into weapons. You realize you're not fighting an army anymore. You're fighting a death cult that's decided to take as many of you as possible on their way out. Furthermore, you adapt, become harder, more ruthless, take no chances. That dead Japanese soldier might be playing poor, some with a grenade. Better to shoot every corpse, just to be sure. Better to throw grenades into caves before checking for civilians. Better to assume everything is a threat. Survival requires becoming something you wouldn't recognize in a mirror. The final islands are the worst. The Japanese know they're losing makes them more dangerous, not less. They've got nothing left to lose. Neither do you really. You've been doing this so long, you can't imagine any other life. Peace is a concept from ancient history. Then it ends not with invasion of Japan. With two flashes of light that delete cities, atomic bombs. Science fiction becomes reality. You should feel relieved. No invasion means you might actually survive. Instead, you feel empty. All those islands, all those friends fed into the meat grinder, and it ends with physics instead of rifles. You'll go home, eventually, after occupation duty, where former enemies bow and scrape, and you try not to shoot them out of reflex. After months of trying to remember how to be human instead of a coral crawling, cave clearing Japanese hunting machine. But part of you never leaves those islands. Part of you is still on that beach, watching the ramp drop, knowing what comes next. Still in those caves, flame and lead and the smell of burning flesh. Still watching civilians fall like cherry blossoms, choosing death over imagined dishonor. Years later, people will thank you for island hopping like it was a vacation, like you were touring tropical paradises. Instead of wading through hell in 100 heat, you'll nod and smile, and not mention the nightmares where you're still clearing caves, still finding new horrors in the dark. Because how do you explain that paradise can be the worst hell of all? How do you explain what it cost to take those dots on a map? You don't. You just carry it one island at a time. The ship home is a ghost ferry, 10,000 men who've forgotten how to be anything but soldiers, pretending they remember what civilians do. The ocean that tried to drown you for years now rocks you gently. like it's apologizing. Nobody buys it. You sleep on deck rather than below, because below feels like a torpedo target. Everyone's quiet. You'd think there'd be celebration. We won. We survived. We're going home. Instead, it's a floating library. Men stare at nothing. Smoke constantly jump when dolphins surface. The thousand-why stare has become standard issue. Conversations happen in grunts and nods. Words are for people who haven't seen what you've seen. In San Francisco or New York. Bands playing, crowds cheering, pretty girls wanting to kiss heroes. You let them, because it's easier than explaining. You're not a hero. Heroes are in cemeteries from Normandy to Okinawa. You're just the leftovers, the ones too lucky or too stubborn to die. Properly processing is a joke. Medical exam that checks if you have all your limbs. Psychiatric evaluation that asks if you're feeling all right. You say yes, because what else do you say? That you haven't slept through the night since 1943. That your inventory exits in every room. That you can't eat meat because it smells too familiar. They stamp your papers. Honorable discharge. Thanks for your service. Next. The train ride home is surreal. America scrolls past the window. Towns that haven't been shelled. Bridges that haven't been blown. Children who've never seen a corpse. It's like a movie set, to clean whole. You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for artillery to start, for this dream to end and dump you back in reality. But this is reality now. Mum's crying at the station. Dad's trying not to. Your kid's sister got tall. The dog doesn't recognize you. Growls at the stranger who smells like death and foreign soil. Home looks exactly the same and completely alien. Your room still has those model airplanes, like a different person hung them because it was. First, dinner is an ambush of normal pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans that haven't been canned since the Depression. Mum watching you eat like you might disappear. Dad asking careful questions about over there. Sister chattering about schoolboys, things that sound like alien communications. You try to engage, smile at the right times, compliment the food, but your hand keeps checking for your rifle. Your eyes track windows, doors. When Dad drops his fork, you're halfway under the table. Before catching yourself, everyone pretends not to notice. The silence stretches until Sister starts talking again, filling the void with blessed noise. Night is worse. The bed's too soft. The room's too quiet. No artillery in the distance. No watch schedule. Your body doesn't know what to do without danger. You lie there, rigid, waiting for an attack that never comes. Every house sound is an enemy. The furnace clicking on sounds like a rifle bolt. You're up, crouched, reaching for a weapon that isn't there. You end up on the floor, back to the wall, blanket on the hardwood. Better not good, but better. You doze fitfully. Wake at 4:34, stand. Except there's no stand, to just you alone with ghosts waiting for dawn in a house that doesn't feel like home. The town hero thing is exhausting. Everyone wants to buy you drinks, shake your hand, thank you for whipping the crowds or showing those Japs. They want stories, heroic stories, clean stories. You killed the bad guys and saved democracy. Simple. You try. Tell them about the time your unit took a German position. Leave out the part where you shot kids in overpacked uniforms. Tell them about island hopping. Skip the caves full of civilian corpses. Edit. Sanitize. Package the war into something digestible. They nod, satisfied. You've confirmed the narrative. America. Good enemy, bad. War. Won the end. But it's not the end. Your hands shake constantly. Not fear. Adrenaline looking for a purpose. You smoke 3 packs a day because it gives your hand something to do. Alcohol helps, makes the edges softer, the ghosts quieter. You're not drinking to get drunk. You're drinking to get normal. There's a difference. You think there's a difference. Getting a job should be easy. Returning heroes first priority. But what skills do you have? Can disassemble an M1. Blindfolded expert at detecting mines. Know 6 ways to kill with a trenching tool. Not much call for that. At the hardware store, you take whatever. Loading trucks, working construction, physical labor that exhausts you enough. Girls want the boy who left. That boy's gone. You take Betty or Susan or Mary to a dance. The music's too loud. Crowds too thick. Too many exits to watch. When someone drops a bottle, you shove her under the table and flip it for cover. Whole dance stops. Everyone stares. Betty's dress is ruined. She cries. You apologize. She doesn't call again. Sleep remains elusive. You try everything. Warm milk, counting sheep. Bourbon, nothing works. The dreams come regardless. Not dreams, memories on repeat. That kid in Normandy, missing his face. The cave full of Japanese families. Your Buddy Johnson's last words. You wake screaming, sheets soaked. Mom at the door looking terrified. Just a dream. You tell her. She nods like she believes you. You both know better. The VA hospital is full of guys like you. Missing pieces, some visible, some not. They understand. The shaking hands, the evening terrors, the way you hit the deck when a car backfires. But understanding doesn't equal fixing. The doctors are overwhelmed, undertrained, working with Stone Age psychiatry, combat fatigue. They say, shell shock, it'll pass with time. They give you pills that make you foggy. Pills that make you sleep, but don't stop the dreams. Pills that turn you into a zombie who's technically functional. You take them for a week, then flush them. Better to be crazy and alert than sane and defenseless. Group therapy is a joke. Sit in a circle. Talk about feelings. Nobody talks. What's the point? The only people who would understand were there, and they're trying to forget to. You sit in silence, smoking, each man alone with his ghosts. The doctor calls it resistance. You call it reality. Work becomes your religion. Construction. Job turns into 2 jobs. Busy hands don't shake as much. Exhausted bodies sometimes sleep. You work until you can't think. Then work some more. Your boss loves it. Eager beaver. Veteran. First in, last out. He doesn't know. It's not ambition. It's survival. The nightmares evolve. Now they mix home with war. You're in your childhood bedroom, but it's also a bunker. Mum's calling for dinner, but she's speaking German. The high school is full of Japanese soldiers. Your mind is blending worlds, unable to keep them separate. You wake up unsure which reality is real. Crowds become unbearable. Too many variables. Too many threats. The grocery store is a tactical nightmare. Narrow aisles, limited exits. Civilians everywhere. You shop at dawn when it's empty. Even then, you're sweating by the dairy section, hands trembling by checkout. The clear smiles, asks how you are fine. You lie counting seconds until escape. Your family tries. God, they try. Dad takes you fishing. Thinks nature will help. But sitting still by water makes you think of Pacific Islands. Of beaches that turned red. Bomb cooks your favorites hurt when you can't finish. How do you explain that everything tastes like sea rations? That your body expects everything to be a last meal? The town drunk is a Pacific veteran. Everyone whispers about him. Such a shame, he used to be somebody. You drink with him. Sometimes, in silence, he gets it. The shaking, the ghosts, the way America feels like another planet one night. He doesn't show heart attack, they say, or maybe he just got tired. You understand that too. Holidays are minefields. 4th of July, fireworks sound like artillery. You spend it in the basement, hands over ears, trying not to scream. Thanksgiving feels obscene. All that food when you remember starving. Christmas is worse. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. Where was that goodwill? In the camps, the caves, the bodies stacked like cordwood. You tried to talk to Dad once. After too much whiskey. Words spill out. The real war, the things you did, saw, survived. He listens, face grey, aging with each word. When you finish, he's quiet. Then maybe some things are better left over there. Son, you never try again. Girls give up on you. Can't blame them. You're not boyfriend material. You flinch at touches. Can't sit in restaurants with your back exposed. Drive like you're still dodging artillery. One brave soul sticks around for months. Thinks love can fix you. It can't. You let it got better for everyone. The weight of dead friends is crushing. You're living their lives too. The ones they'll never have. Every sunset Johnson won't see. Every Christmas Martinez won't celebrate. Every wedding, every child, every ordinary Tuesday they lost. You're not just carrying your ghosts. You're carrying their unlived futures. Some guys crack completely. Thompson eats his gun one Tuesday. No, doesn't need one. Everyone knows why. Williams drives his car into a bridge abutment at £90 accident. The paper says, sure, accident. Rodriguez disappears. Just walks away from his life. You hope he found peace. Doubt it, but hope. You develop routines, rigid patterns that create artificial safety. Coffee at 0600, work at 0700, lunch at 1200, same sandwich, same bench, same everything. Deviation invites chaos. Your life becomes military precise. Because that's the only control you have. The anger comes in waves at politicians who sent you, at civilians who don't understand, at the universe for making you see what humans do to each other, at yourself for surviving when better men didn't. It sits in your chest like shrapnel, sharp and poisonous. You swallow it down, smile when required, play the grateful veteran. Years pass, you get married. A patient woman who accepts your screaming nights and need to check perimeters. Kids arrive, you try to be a father. But how do you teach safety to children when you know how unsafe the world really is? How do you promise them monsters aren't real when you've met them? The wall follows you to every job, every relationship, every quiet moment. It's in the way you eat, vast, protective. The way you sit back to walls. The way you love, carefully ready for loss. You're home, but not home. Alive, but not living. A ghost haunting your own life. They'll call you the greatest generation, build monuments, have parades, make movies that turn hell into heroism. You'll nod, accept the thanks, play your part, because that's what they need. They need heroes, clean narratives, good wars with clear endings. But you know the truth, and the war didn't end in 1945, it just came home. Took off its uniform and pretended to be normal. It sits across from you at dinner, lies next to you in bed, follows you to work, is in every backfire, every nightmare, every time someone thanks you for your service. You're 70, now 80. The other ghosts are mostly gone. Heart attacks, cancer, cars wrapped around trees at 2 a.m. You're the last one who remembers Johnson's laugh, Martinez's terrible jokes, Kowalski's plans for the hardware store. When you die, they die again, soil and Pacific sand. And what came back was just enough to fool everyone, including yourself. The war ends. That's what they tell you. That's what the papers say. That's what the politicians proclaim. The war never ends. It just comes home and stays forever. So here we are, at the end of our journey through hell. You've followed that brightened kid from small town America through basic training, across oceans into combat and back home carrying ghosts. Heavier than any pack the army ever issued. Still think you would have lasted a day? They called them the greatest generation. Now, clean label for a messy truth makes it sound noble, voluntary, like they had a choice. Like 16 million Americans said, you know what sounds fun? Let's go watch our friends die in new and creative ways. No, they were drafted into horror, shipped to nightmares and told not to come back without victory. And they delivered, defeated fascism, liberate camps, saved the world. The history books make it sound so simple, so clean. Good versus evil, democracy versus tyranny, light versus dark, black and white. Like those old newsreels, but you've seen the color version now. The red of blood on French beaches, the yellow of malaria, tinted skin, the black of frost-bitten toes, the grey of everything in between, the moral compromises, the things done for survival, the pieces of soul traded for victory, the price, everything, not just the 400,000 American bodies left in foreign soil. That's the easy number, the clean statistic. The real price was paid by the ones who came home. 16 million went. How many really came back? Not their bodies, those made it, but the boys who left. They're buried just as deep as the ones with white crosses. They came home to a country that needed heroes, not head cases. So they buried it, pushed it down, self-medicated with whatever worked. Bourbon silence, workaholism, rage. Furthermore, they built suburbs and raised families and created prosperity. All while screaming inside the American dream built on a foundation of untreated PTSD. Your grandfather, who never talked about the war, now you know why. Your uncle, who drank himself to death by 50, makes sense now. That neighbor who couldn't watch fireworks, couldn't handle loud noises, slept in his basement. You get it. They gave us everything and told us nothing, protected us from their nightmares by swallowing them whole. Smiled for photos, marched in parades, accepted thanks for service that broke them in ways that never healed. The greatest generation's greatest achievement might have been hiding their pain so well. We believed that Hollywood version, but here's the thing. They were just kids, average age of a job, platoon, soldier, 26. Some lied to enlist at 16, 17, kids who should have been a prom were storming beaches. Boys who'd never left their county were suddenly halfway around the world, expected to save civilization, and they did, despite everything, the fear, the horror, the complete failure of everything they had been taught about human decency. They did the job, not because they were especially brave or particularly heroic, because what else was there to do? You can't go home until it's over. Can't quit, because quitting means your buddies die. So you keep going, one foot in front of the other, one horror at a time. They weren't superhuman. That's the real lesson. They were exactly as human as you, thrust into inhuman circumstances and expected to function. They broke in all the ways you'd break, cried themselves, went insane, did terrible things to survive. The only difference between them and you, they had to get to sleep on your memory foam mattress and worry about your Wi-Fi speed. Because they worried about tiger tanks and bonsai charges, so next time you see a WWII memorial, understand what you're really looking at. Not a monument to glory, a monument to trauma. Those names aren't just casualties. They're kids who never got to be adults. And the ones who survived, they paid in ways that don't fit on marble walls. The greatest generation, sure, but not for the reasons we tell ourselves. Great because they endured the NENDURABL. Great because they carried hell home and didn't let it burn down everything. Great because they somehow built lives on foundations of horror and managed to smile in family photos. They're almost gone now. A few thousand left out of 16 million. Soon it'll just be stories, documentaries. This late night ramble about what it was really like, the last witnesses to humanity's capacity for both evil and endurance. When they're gone, we lose the living reminder of what war actually costs. So, tonight, in your comfortable bed, in your climate-controlled room, with your full belly and your small problems, maybe say a quiet thank you, not for their service. That phrase has been emptied of meaning. Thank them for their silence, for their nightmares, for carrying hell, so you don't have to thank them for being broken. So you could be whole, then if you're very quiet, in that space between waking and sleep, you might hear them. Johnson from Iowa, Martinez from Texas, Kowalski from Chicago, all the ghosts that came home in the hearts of survivors, still young, still scared, still wondering why they died and their buddy lived. There's no answer to that question, just like there's no answer to why humans do what they do to each other, why civilization is always 3 meals away from savagery, why kids have to die for old men's arguments. But they did it anyway. Scared kids with shaking hands and full bowels, and hearts breaking in real time. They did it anyway. The greatest generation, the broken generation, the lost boys who saved the world and paid with everything. They wouldn't last a day in their war. Neither would you. That's the point. That's the price. That's the truth they took to their graves and left us to discover in the spaces between their silence. War is hell. Hell came home. Home learned to live with hell. And here we are, decades later, lying on Egyptian cotton sheets, complaining about our phones being slow, because, somewhere in France, on some island in the Pacific, in the skies over Germany, kids our age decided tomorrow was worth dying for, even if they'd never see it, even if it killed them to survive it. The greatest generation, Christ. What a price to pay for that title. What a price. Sleep well. You can, they couldn't. That's their final gift. Use it wisely.